Okay, I'm live. I see timers ticking and everything's all right. Sometimes there's gaps between when I record and when I don't record. And that's because I too have to check my health. There's times that I feel so lost in everything there is. See, even though I call myself an ambassador for emotional wellness, I have to check my health, not just my physical, but my mental health. Physical is everything outside the world that I live in, and I need to take into account how that can affect my emotions. Because see, there's little things out there, and we call this in the psychiatric world, triggers. Because there are points in our life that it sets us back. Our minds go back to those moments and we're living it. And even though it seems like for a moment in time, it's not just a moment in time. It is a complete reality that we live in. As you walk around your world, there's things that you do each and every day. And even though you don't call it OCD, these are things you do to make sure you're safe and well in your world. And you don't think about your mental state when you're doing these things. I have to. See, I still hear the voices, I still see things. Certain things that I do sometimes kind of builds all that back into my brain and I relive it over and over. So it's not just a complete second that I'm out of touch. It becomes minutes, hours, and days. And I have to do little things to bring my mind back in. And these little things that I do is physically get out there and do some type of work. Now, I've been doing lots of work lately. Even though I'm retired, I need this type of work to bring my emotional state back to a point where I can come and talk to you again. And that's not an easy thing. I found that through my years, and it's almost 70 years of life here, that I have to pay attention to my emotional well-being, the way my mind works, and the different personalities that I have to help keep me grounded in this world. Because that's where I'm at. I'm in this world, and I want to stay there. I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to hurt anybody else or anything else. And it takes work. I need to have things, little things we call tools in our toolbox that help keep us grounded in the reality of the world that we're in. Lots of schizophrenics out there, lots of bipolar people out there, lots of manic, whatever you want to call them. They're emotionally ill because they don't realize what's going on. They're trying to treat the mental illness part, and they can't because they're disillusioned onto what's really going on. They don't realize that this is an emotional state. Let me take you back to a few years. I like to watch other people make strides and big statements into society and reality. There's some that just, because of their name and background, they're pushed into it. And those, you could pretty well say they're going to be successful only because of their name and who their parents were. When you take somebody that's obscure and they make strides and they do this from a childhood all the way up, and they make that same emotional thing, but they statement, they don't have the help of a parental name or somebody backing them. They got support from their family and from the community and from the world at large, only because they are very, very exceptional in what they do. I watched two stars come up, and when I first saw them, I was dating a woman that had some younger children, and they would watch these programs. But there's two people that came up that was totally obscure. And I watched their background and I watched their history and everything. And I'm going to call their names out only because I have personally met them. I've seen them, and I ain't going to tell you where I've seen them, but I watched them become friends and pals and hang out here and there. And they're just like any other children. They wanted to be together. They wanted that little bit of friendship, that emotional support that they needed. And one is Demi Lovato. I watched her grow up. I watched her grow up. I haven't watched day by day. I'm not a stalker like that. But I watched her grow up. Another one is Selena Gomez. Again, I watched her grow up. And reason why I watched these two, because of the woman I was dating at the time and the children, them watching the program. In order to understand the children, sometimes you need to watch the TV that they're watching. And that's what I did. Barney and Friends was on, and this was the earlier years of Barney and Friends, and Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato. Sometimes when they were on the program, they would do that little bit of extra in the program that let me know that they are real children. They understood, but they projected a higher self than the others. And that to me is a mark of greatness. It's like if you ever watch Andy Griffin, I'm trying to think of the guy's name, Opie, and you watched him grow up, you see how great he become. Another one I watched on was during the Mickey Mouse show. There was one guy, Kirk Russell, I think his name is, that started there, and I watched him, and he had that same spark, just like all the others before. They had that spark of greatness, and I knew it was in them, so I kept an eye on them, and that spark of greatness brought them up. But along the way, they experienced setbacks, just like Demi and Selena Gomez did. They had the setbacks because emotionally they become drained, very emotionally drained. Because when they did a project, they put their full self in, and that can be emotionally draining. And that's where they had their problems. Everybody thought it was mental illness, but it was not mental illness. What it was they were emotionally drained, and they did not know how to regain that back. Instead, what they did is they kept working. And at the end of each thing, they were emotionally drained and they didn't realize it. And yes, they had their times when they thought it was mental illness. And according to doctors and the psychiatrists and the managers and the parents and everybody, yes, this is mental illness. But it's not. It was emotional draining. They were becoming emotionally detached. What they had to learn to do was control their emotions, but let their emotions out at the same time. And they never did quite get a grip on that. Thus, they impersonal experiencing. I watched Selena and Demi at a McDonald's. How they would come in, just get something simple to drink, maybe share some fries, and they would sit over in the corner, Selena and Demi, and they would just talk. And this during time when just us old folks would come in and get our coffee and biscuits or something like that, and having a sipping day where we're talking. So there wasn't many young people, they're just old people, and they didn't realize, thought that none of the old people would recognize who they were. And I let it play out until the day I started hearing these old people mention their name. And then I started seeing more kids, younger teenagers, hanging around outside McDonald's. So I had to reach over and say something to them, let them know that their gig was about up because last thing Selena and Demi needed was a rush of young children and old people coming towards them. They just want to be left alone. So, in a quiet way, I called one of them over. I said, I know who you are, and I haven't said anything. I let you be by yourself, but your gig is up. All these people starting to recognize you. So, I don't want to give you a hard time, but I don't want you to get a hard time either. I just want you to know what I'm hearing so that you can make a decision about what to do. And they did. They went back and they finished up their cokes and drinks, and they politely got up and went off. I didn't see them back there the next day or since. I know they had to give that up, but I figured that they probably just went to another McDonald's or someplace else and sat and eat. But I was not going to let them get bum rushed because at the time they were searching for emotional friendship attachment. I know come a time when they had to separate their friendship and that become um, their downfall because they had each other to rely on and all of a sudden they didn't and they were going on what society wanted and everything caused a lots of problems. But it was never mental illness. It was always emotional illness. But the same thing they were going through, each and every one of us in the psychiatrist's help that are described with some type of mental illness. No, it's not mental illness. Somewhere along your line, your history, what you've gone through, and it's probably blanked out into your mind where you can't get to it. You've probably seen a big black hole or a door or a gate or something that you call extremely dangerous that you're trying to stay away from. Well, I'm going to challenge you. Next time you see that thing, go through it. It may be scary, but remember that's in your mind, and what's in there cannot physically hurt you. You have control over it. Matter of fact, it's your mind, and that's your fear going through it, and you have the right to control each and every aspect of what's going on to your mind. So, whatever it is, wherever you are at, that little blank spot, that place that is so skillful that you dare not go there because you're afraid of what's going to happen. Know this, you got control over that. It's your mind, it's your way. You can do this. You have the strength. Just like me, I struggle each and every day. Develop a toolbox, something that you can have with you no matter where you go in your, well, I like to call it stinking thinking. Mental illness people like to call it that too. But that can help you come back and touch into reality where you need to be. You may have to do this, may take days, weeks, years on down the line to get this to happen. But you need to go through it and find that break. And when you do find that break where you broke away from everything, you'll find out it wasn't a mental break, it was an emotional break, a separation between your emotions and the world around you, because that's what protects you. But once you make that reconnected to that emotional thing, you can use your toolbox to touch it. It's like that stray cat, a wild feral cat that keeps coming around your place. Lots of times you can't touch it, but eventually it gets to where it comes up close enough and you can touch its tail. You can touch its back. You probably will never own that cat, but that cat will become your best friend. It takes time and points of your life that you can touch back to drag you back into the reality of what's really going on. If you're out there struggling with emotional detachment, regardless if you call it mental illness, schizoaffecto, or you're having a psych moment, whatever, know that I'm here. If you want to touch me, my email is on this YouTube page. Touch me through my email and put on there searching for emotional wellness. I will help you. I'm not a doctor. Even though I've gone and I've studied all these things from Sigmund Freud all the way up, I understand the medications and everything like that. I've gone on the World Wide Web and I've touched every part of it. And I've been doing this for over 30 years. But I am not a doctor, but I have learned and trained like one. That's the reason why I changed the name of it to emotional wellness or emotional detachment. There's no such thing as mental illness. That's just others in the world trying to make reality of what's happening to you. So let's say it's a mental thing. Oh, that's crazy. It's that stinking thinking they're doing has come from way before the Middle Ages come up and been brought up all the time. Some might crazy just lock them up so we ain't got to fool with them. But they can't lock up every one of them unless you get tales of Dracula, Frankenstein, uh, Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde. These are personalities and things that people see as a psycho, crazy, weird. This ain't the real world that we live in anymore. This is now, this is the way it is. We break away from those old mental stigmas, those old mental illness labels they put on you. Reach out, touch me, come through my email. That's the only way you're going to get in touch with me, through my email. It's on there. And put on there searching for emotional wellness, and I'll help you. That's the reason why I call myself an ambassador for that. I can give you little clues, little things that can help you. I can't do it for you. I can give you little clues, listen to your story, and hear points of reality that you might not be able to hear. And that way I can help you. And if I can help just one, I'm going to do what I'm meant to do. Because with one, that one too will reach out and start becoming more and more and more. So we wind up calling ourselves emotionally well. We reattach ourselves to our emotions and we can take and start building our life again. Just like I do each and every day. I attach myself emotionally to the world and become part of it again. Drugs and alcohol is the answer. Lots of people are drug addicts or alcoholics or they just having problems like that. They don't realize that it's emotional detachment and their reality is turned to what helps them. As Kojak said one time, the best way to get rid of a habit is to take up another one. If you're drinking alcohol or something like that, or taking drugs, drinking black coffee that nobody likes. I'm not talking about the cans of getting caffeine. I'm talking about black coffee. Break away from the normal and establish a new you. I've done that. I'm drinking black coffee. That's what this is, pure black coffee. And that's part of my emotional wellness. I smoke cigarettes. These are bad habits. But these habits, I transfer from one habit to another. And these I can live with. Those others I couldn't live with. What habits are you doing that keeps you from being emotionally well? Then you should not live with. You know what? I don't have to tell you. Either way, my name is David. I'm here to help you. I'm an ambassador for emotional wellness. I don't ask that you like or subscribe because that's something you have to choose to do. I cannot promote this like this, and I'm not going to take anything that's going to offer me money for this because I'm not going to be a sellout to you. But I will help you. All you have to do is reach out to me to my email, and I bid you to have a great day, and I'll talk to you another time. Bye.